Hello everybody, my name is Joshua and I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Coffee, Cats, and King, where we will discuss books, both new and old. I will share with you pictures of my cats will make you wish they were your cats, and I will drink enough coffee for me and everybody watching. The mug today is a Florida mug. This is the home of my lovely wife. She was born and raised there, and we met there almost 12 years ago. And then my shirt today is another one of my Twilight Zone shirts. This is for the episode The Invaders. So if you have not seen that episode, please stop watching this video, go watch some classic original Twilight Zone, because it is without a doubt the best thing ever put on television, and I say that in full sincerity. Today I am here with a January wrap-up and February plans. So in January I read 17 books, mix of physical copies and on the phone here on my Kindle app, and I'm just going to do a quick talk over them, and then I'll get into some of the books that I plan to read in February. So I'm going to go down the line from start to finish. First book that I finished in January was A Hawk in the Woods. And this is very much a cosmic horror, a sort of an intellectual cosmic horror. I didn't really know what I was getting into when I read it, but it turned out to be pretty good. That said, there are no likable characters in this book. Everybody is just kind of a terrible person. But it had some really cool ideas. There's some beautiful prose in there, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. After that, I read Resurrectionist by Jack O'Connell. I did not like it at all. Did not like it at all. Thought it was terrible. Didn't make any sense. A lot of unnecessary torture, homophobia, and things like that, and just didn't care for it. So, moving right on. After that, and that definitely got a 1 out of 5, by the way. After that, I read Valley of the Scarecrow by Gord Rollo. And Gord Rollo, I was excited to get back into some of his stuff. I read Jigsaw Man and loved it years ago. Tried a couple of his others and just didn't care for them. I was really hoping this would be the one that got me into it, and it was not. A slasher book about a psychotic Reverend Scarecrow thing should not be boring, and it ended up rather boring and filled to the brim with stereotypes and tropes, and so I gave it 2 out of 5. After that, I read Nightmares and Dreamscapes, Mr. Stephen King. 5 out of 5 on that one. It was one of my earliest reads from him. I loved it then, still love it now. I know not everyone likes him, but in my opinion, the man just writes an enjoyable story. So, after that, I picked up Asylum by Madeline Rowe. And the best part about this book, the pictures throughout it. Some really cool, creepy pictures throughout it. That said, the story itself was very disappointing, very simplistic, and far too young at times, but then they throw in some cursing or some, sudden scenes of violence that just didn't really make sense. I ended up giving it 2 stars. Okay, after that, I read Davenport House by Marie Silk. And this is one I was really excited about. Not my normal read. It's a period piece, a historical fiction. I gave it 2 stars because it could have been good, but it was just way too simple, way too basic. It followed all the right rules of a historical murder mystery, but it did not do anything original in my opinion. And aside from that, it really, really, really needed a good editing job. So, 2 stars for that one. Then I read Sour by Mr. Tony Evans. This is another one I was very excited about. The cover was killer, and you know, I thought, how can I lose? It's you know, it's a creepy witch, and well, problem was a lot of the same problem I had with Davenport House, in that it desperately needed editing. It needed editing, and it needed a proofreader, and this is something that I harp on a lot. I understand that, but if you are self-publishing, you have to you have to hone in on the skills you have, and if those skills do not include proper sentence structure, if they do not include fixing your grammatical errors as you go, if syntax is not your thing, just please pass it on to someone. It is worth the money, I promise you. So, that's my little rant there. Okay, next up I read The Breeds of Man. And I'm going to have to put a picture up here because I don't know where my copy is. Might have left it at my mother's house. But Breeds of Man started out really exciting for me. I loved most of the book, up until the last probably 120 pages. I thought it was great. I thought it was excellent. It was this really cool science fiction, very unique, very original in my opinion. But then those last 120 pages, it became this weird sort of crime noir thriller that didn't make sense with the rest of it in my opinion, and it just lost me. That's not my thing. It lost me completely. I give it 3 stars. After that, I read Box of Terror by Michael Bray. And it was my first time reading anything from him. It had a couple interesting stories in it. But again, it needed editing. Some of the stories I think maybe were drawn out a bit too much. Some maybe a little short. But he did have some very original ideas. I liked his concepts. I liked the way he's going. I think that if he continues writing, he could do great things. He just needs some tweaks here and there, but he's promising. So 3 stars on that one. After that, I read Enter Night by Michael Rowe. And this is one that I was pretty excited about as well. It's supposed to be a vampire novel, something that's a little different, a little more exciting. I give it 2 stars in the end. As it turns out, it was not different whatsoever. It was a vampire novel just like any other. All kinds of stereotypes. This is small town cops. One Indian man, as they refer to him, and as he refers to himself, oddly enough, one Indian man who is far more intelligent, far more physically superior to all the rest of them. He is the only person who knows what's going on and can't convince anyone else of this ancient evil. Surprise, surprise, we've heard this 1,000 times. Yeah, it didn't pan out in my opinion. And some of the dialogue was just some of the worst I've read in a long time. So, 2 stars on that. Moving on. Next, I read one that really surprised me, and that's Deeper by James A. Moore. And what surprised me about Deeper, I've read a couple by him, and they've been okay. Nothing has blown me away. This one, though, I really, really, really enjoyed. I thought it was just going to be, you know, deep sea dive. They find some scary creature that lives down there that we're not supposed to know about, and the thing gets out and attacks them. Instead, I got a Lovecraftian novel of mermaids and Dagon's descendants, mixed with the sort of hard, actiony, punchy horror that James Moore usually goes for. And it was not always well written. A lot of the dialogue was kind of chunky at times, but it was a lot of fun to read. having these, you know, these mermen, Dagon's descendants things coming up out of the water, and they're blasting them away with Tommy guns. I mean, it was ridiculous, but it was so much fun. So I gave that 5 stars. I did. After that, I read another 5-star read, and it's good because I needed some 5-star reads. I needed some good 4 and 5 stars. But after that, I read Lucky Man by Michael J. Fox. I talked about this in one of my other videos about how excited I was because I talked about how intelligent and eloquent he is. And I got exactly what I was hoping for. That is a beautiful, beautiful memoir. You will laugh, you will cry, and you will appreciate this man so much more than you may already. So, excellent. I can't wait to pick up some more of his writing. He is just fantastic. I loved every second of it. Moving on from that, I read I Kill Monsters by Dennis Leguio. I don't know how to say his name, I'm sorry. But this was a monster-killing, mayhemy, monster-hunting, slaying, I don't know what you want to call it. But I had it in my Kindle library for a long time, finally picked it up. I bought it at a time when I had just finished reading the Monster Hunter series from Larry Correa, and I was hoping it would be like that. In my opinion, his Monster Hunter series far surpasses this, but it was decent. It was decent. So I gave it 3 stars. After that, I read Unmasked by R. St. Clair, Miss Regina over at Regina's Haunted Library. She's an author for those of you who do not know. So I read Unmasked. Unmasked was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. She put a lot of horror tropes in there, but did it in a tasteful way. In a way that did not just make it cliche and boring. She is very much a fan of Gothic literature, and you can definitely tell that just in the descriptions of the book. You know, lightning crashing around them in this big old house where the lights flicker on and off, and you see shadows at every turn. You know, at every turn. It was a lot of fun. I very much enjoyed it. I will say it does need some editing. If you could get someone in there to edit it up, proofread it some, it'd be awesome. So, in the end though, I gave it 3 stars because I still very much enjoyed it, despite the issues that I found. I read The Mermaid by Miss Christina Henry. A couple years ago, I read Lost Boy from her and loved it. I loved it. It was a Peter Pan retelling. The Mermaid, obviously, is her take on Little Mermaid. And it includes some actual historical figures. One of the main characters is Mr. Barnum from Barnum Bailey Circus. It was a sweet read. Very heartwarming at times. I hated I hated Barnum and a couple of the other characters, to be honest. But the Mermaid herself is a very interesting character, and it was just a very different read. I can't necessarily say why I enjoyed it, but I did. So, in the end, I ended up giving it 5 stars because really I couldn't find much wrong with it. So, got a couple more here, down to the last 2 actually. So the final ebook that I read in January was Within the Woods by Tony Urban. And Within the Woods, I wanted to enjoy this book so much. I wanted that nostalgia factor, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be sort of coming of age horror story about this group of boys. It had a lot of problems, guys. It had a lot of problems. There was some really enjoyable moments, but what really sealed the deal for me that, you know, this book was just not going to work out the way I hoped. There was a scene where one of the boys is having an argument with his father, and the father picks up this crystal ashtray and slams it down on the boy's hand. And it talks about the ashtray cracking into pieces. And that's it. The boy doesn't react. The father doesn't react. And then it is not until pages and pages later that the boy realizes his hand is bleeding. Now, it doesn't sit well with me I'm sorry. No, just doesn't work, okay? I've done a lot of punching things in my time, and believe me, it hurts. That little boy is going to feel it. So, just didn't sit well with me, and it was scenes like that that were just very unrealistic that threw me off and took me out of the story. I gave it 2 stars. And then my last read for January was Armor by John Steakley. This is described as a military classic, military science fiction classic. And now I know why. Armor was awesome. It was a blast to read. It is about a soldier named Felix who is thrown into this battle called the Ant Wars on a different planet. And actually, we are dropped directly into this war. Don't know what's going on at first. Everything is confusing and chaotic, and there are people being blown up, ants being blown up. The ants being these massive 8-foot-tall creatures with multiple limbs who can tear us apart easily. And Felix is just trying to survive. And then we jump from Felix, at a certain point we jump from Felix over to this criminal mastermind named Jack Crow. And I gotta tell you, I did not care for Jack. A lot of the stories told from his perspective. In fact, most of the stories told from his perspective. I did not like him for a very good portion of it. I almost gave up at first when we moved to Jack, but I stuck with it. He grows on you, kind of, and mostly I was excited to get back to Felix, which you do, but it's a lot of fun. If you're into science fiction, you want something action-y, something with a lot of explosions, and where the science itself is not going to bog you down, Armor is a great read. So those are my reads for January. I've read a couple in February already, but I wanted to talk to you about my plans for February. So I said I've read about 4 books so far. I tried to do the January TBR last month, and I found that it was very difficult for me to pick my books beforehand, because then I got new books in, or I found others on my shelf that I got really excited about, and then I realized, you know what, you got like 7 more books that you told these guys you're going to read, you better read those first. So I wasn't a big fan of that. And I've picked just 5 books that I know for sure I'm going to get to in February. Aside from that, I'm going to leave it open. Those 5 books are Trick or Treat by Richie Tankersley Cusick. Really excited about this one. I talked about it in my last pickup video. I also got, this is another one I'm really excited to read. Found out about it thanks to Richard. That is Evangeline Walton's Witch House. Can't wait to get to this. This is Without Warning by Fern Michaels. I love this cover. Love that cover. So cool. I'm also going to read Michael Coney, Winter's Children. And then the last one that I have dedicated myself to reading in February, a lot of you guys will be happy about. Thomas Tryon's Harvest Home. I know, about freaking time, right? So, definitely going to get to those this month. Aside from that, like I said, I'm going to leave it open. I don't like picking my books beforehand. I just can't do it, guys. I'm sorry. If you have suggestions of a particular book you definitely want me to get to, though, feel free to comment. I'll see if I can squeeze it in, if I can get it in there. I will. But there you go. That is my January wrap-up and plans for February. I have some really exciting stuff coming up. Can't wait. I have a couple little things on the side that I'm hoping to post soon. So thank you again for joining me. And as always, just stay safe, have fun out there, read plenty of good books. Cheers.